Time for my review for Drug Wars The Last Dose. I realize technically this is not an update. It is stripped content that was recently unlocked for GTA Online. It is the conclusion to the Drug Wars story with Dax, Lab Rat, Luchadora, the Fulligans. A story that most of us are happy to be over and done with. So, how did it go? What are my pros? What are my cons? Final verdict. And I'm interested in what you think about The Last Dose, or I guess overall the Drug Wars update as a whole, because I think most of the content has been released, except for maybe like one or two cars. But feel free to let me know below in the comment section your thoughts, views, opinions regarding The Last Dose. Pros. To be fair, there's a few pros, not many. The Oscillate Virtue, we get this sweet-looking supercar for free upon completion of the Last Dose missions, which fortunately do not take too long at all and aren't too difficult to achieve. You get the Oscillate Virtue by completing the Last Dose. And it's also an agency vehicle, so if you have the agency, you can get the Amani Tech upgrades with the lock-on jammers, the extra armor, or you can switch it to an RC variant, so that's also fun. They also added the Eudora to the game. It's a cool looking older car. And if you're doing the taxi work, I think you have to do like a few stunts in order to unlock the taxi skin for it, even though you can't use the Eudora for the taxi jobs. That sucks, but yeah, still, it's an okay looking car. And some people like the unique look, the classic style and design of the Eudora. And we get to fly the cargo plane for a little bit of time, not much, about a minute or two, in the finale of The Last Dose. And that's a plane we've been wanting added to the game for a while now. Well, the ability to actually fly it, purchase it. Maybe they'll use it for a future update. Who knows? And, oh yeah, the final pro is the Drug War story is finally over. So that is definitely a pro. All right, so let's talk about the cons regarding the Drug Wars update. So if you put armor on the Oscillate Virtue, at the moment, and maybe Rockstar will fix this sooner rather than later, you cannot use throwables like grenades or sticky bombs with an armored version of the Oscillate Virtue. So that, in my opinion, is a con. The Eudora cannot be used for taxi work. I think I established that a moment ago when I brought up the Eudora. Now let's talk about the Last Dose missions themselves. They are boring and copy pasta. A prime example is the first mission you do in Last Dose after the orderlies kidnap Lab Rat. You are defending the warehouse, the freak shop, from NPCs that are invading. It's very similar to what happens with Trevor in Series A Funding Finale. So that's the first half of the finale is you, Trevor, and like 3 of your friends are gunning down members of the Lost, 1 or 2 other factions as well. But this time it's just the orderlies, and like so many orderlies come after you. They're not difficult to kill. It's just, it seems like they just slap and toss as many enemies as they possibly can at you in these missions just to pad the time. Because if they didn't have as many enemies attacking the warehouse or the freak shop, then the mission wouldn't last as long. So that was one of the missions that had some copy pasta to it. Another one was Minor Turbulence from GTA 5 Story Mode. Trevor hops in a crop duster, and he basically sneaks up on a Merryweather cargo plane, and then he crashes into the cargo plane. Now, Gypsy did a really good video showing a side-by-side comparisons between missions from GTA 5, GTA Online that previously have been done, and the missions that are in The Last Dose. Also Drug Wars, because there's a few in Drug Wars, the first missions, that are copy pasta as well. So I'll put his video below in the description section. But yeah, Minor Turbulence, instead of using a crop duster to crash into the cargo plane, you and friends and Luchadora take a Velum. And it's a very short flight. You start off at the Los Santos River, this drainage ditch, and you fly to LSIA where the cargo plane carrying the orderlies and I guess Dr. Freelander. I know that's a spoiler. Oh yeah, that's another con we'll get to in just a moment. So you crash onto the plane and you kill the orderlies, which doesn't take long. You take control of the plane, and yeah, the whole crashing into the plane sequence with another plane is basically copy-pasted from Minor Turbulence. And I think they just reskin the same cutscene. And then there's a mission where you go inside this laboratory. And the laboratory is a reskinned interior from the morgue. Now, the morgue has been featured a few times. I think in one of the Michael missions in GTA 5. I think during the Doomsday heist, you go into the morgue. So the morgue interior has been used once or twice. And basically what they did was instead of building a completely new interior, it made sense because it is a medical lab you're going into. So you would expect it to look this way. But it's identical. The only thing they really do different is some different props. And they just give it a different coat of paint. But it's still copy pasta, in my opinion. So the crappy payouts are definitely another con, because during the first week of Last Dose, it was double money, but double money really didn't pay out that much. So if the double money is the reason to do these missions, then that's a terrible reason, because there's way better ways to make money in the game. Like the OG heist, the casino heist, Cayo Perico heist, all the other various businesses. But I guess people will do these missions like I did and a few others to get the car and out of curiosity. The characters are badly written. I'm talking about the characters introduced in the Drug Wars, such as Dax, as well as Lab Rat, to a lesser extent Luchadora. But compared to way characters are written in previous GTAs, like for example GTA 5, it's a night and day difference between how characters are written from the time of Dan Houser to whoever the hell is writing the characters and their dialogue for the Last Dose missions and previous GTA DLCs. And speaking of characters, somehow Dr. Freelander survives. Now, to be fair, it is optional to kill Dr. Freelander at the end of Michael's story. You don't have to kill him, but you can kill him. And for what it's worth, for some reason, 5 times I tried to kill him, because I played through GTA 5 times. And embarrassingly, one way or the other, I failed to kill Dr. Freelander. I don't know how that happened, but not once was I able to actually kill Dr. Freelander. Therefore, not killing Dr. Freelander is actually canon, in my head at least. But another issue is Rockstar was so lazy with Dr. Freelander returning with GTA Online's Last Dose. They changed his clothing, but physically he doesn't look any different from how he did in 2013. And the Last Dose missions are meant to be set in present day, basically a decade later, more or less. So why doesn't he have gray hair? Why doesn't he have some wrinkles on his face? Why doesn't he look a little bit, I guess, worse for wear? He looks roughly identical to how he looks in GTA 5 story. Whereas Franklin, for example, in the contract, which came out in, I believe it was 2021, they obviously aged Franklin a bit. You know, they added a little bit gray to his hair. They gave him facial hair. They actually put some effort into aging Franklin's character. They didn't do the same thing with Freelander. Pure, simple laziness on Rockstar's part. And the final con is that we couldn't buy or even fly the flying UFO hamburger that was teased in the artwork in the trailer. Come on, Rockstar! I was so looking forward to Bruffy doing his lap time and top speed testing of the flying UFO cheeseburger. Obviously, I'm kidding. So that's the pros, cons, and of course, my final verdict for The Last Dose. I want to go back in time a little bit, a few years, and do a quick comparison. It won't be too much time. So in 2020, during the pandemic, Rockstar was able to come out with the Cayo Perico heist. The characters weren't written so well, but you know, it was a fun update, a little mini expansion to GT Online, and most players like heists just fine. And for the longest time, it was a great way to make money in the game. In fact, it was one of the best ways to make money. And then a year ago, Rockstar came out with The Contract, which reintroduced Franklin, an older version of Franklin. He became your partner in the agency. You also saw the return of Lamar, and you had Dr. Dre, and the agency with Amani and Amani Tech, and the agency vehicles like the Oscillate Virtue. And it was a really good update. It was what I would call high effort by Rockstar. And so, considering what was happening in the world in 2020, I would say the same for Cayo Perico. Yeah, it could have been better, but I thought it was a pretty impressive update in light of the fact that we were going through a global pandemic in 2020. So, high effort in 2020 and 2021 in December for Rockstar. A year later, low effort with the Drug Wars. This was an awful update. And I already did a review on, I guess, the first part of the Drug Wars that came out day one back in December 2022. So I guess this is my own last review of it. But this update was as low effort as you could expect. They stretched out the drip feed to March and maybe at least another week or two with one or two more cars. I guess we should be grateful that Rockstar didn't try to stretch this out further to, say, late spring or early summer. But low effort, terrible writing, crappy characters, dildos, buttholes galore. The missions, as we've stated already, copy pasta. It was nothing innovating, nothing exciting, nothing new, boring. But it was short. But it wasn't sweet. And the payout sucked unless you happen to be hosting from start to finish, and then at least you get the Oscillate Virtue for free. The Oscillate Virtue is basically a consolation prize for enduring the Last Dose missions. And as I've stated before, yes, I know, Rockstar's working on GTA 6. Yeah, I know. But this is still a live service game. They're still trying to make money off this game by selling copies of GTA 5, as well as standalone copies of GTA Online for PS5, Xbox Series, and GTA Plus scam. Oh, by the way, you can get the Oscillate Virtue for quote-unquote free. Well, $6 US if you don't want to endure the Last Dose missions. But I'm sure they'll eventually add the Virtue to one of the websites for you just to buy with in-game money. I think Rockstar could have done way better with the December 2021 update than overall what we got with Drug Wars and then wrapping it up with The Last Dose. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. They have thousands of employees, and if they're going to continue making profits off of GTA Online through shard card sales, GTA Plus, and selling copies of the game, then you would expect them to put a little bit more effort into their updates, especially since a year ago they released the PS5, Xbox Series versions of GTA 5 and Online, which most people had to pay for. Unless you had PlayStation Plus and a PS5, then you could get GTA Online standalone for free for a limited time, but everyone else had to pay. So why not take full advantage, Rockstar, of the current systems like the PS5, Xbox Series and put out updates worthy of current gen, especially since you made players buy this same game again. From the 360 PS3 era to the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and now PS5 and Xbox Series. This update was one of your worst updates, and that is a major disappointment from a company that was once all about quality, giving us the best game that they could possibly make, especially for a game that is over 9 years old, extremely long in the tooth, and approaching 10 years in October. I'm talking about GTA Online. GTA 5 is going to have its 10th anniversary September 17th, 2023. But GTA Online, in order to survive and keep going, needs a breath of fresh air. It needs some new life. And I just don't feel like Drug Wars was it, Rockstar. And it definitely wasn't it with Last Dose. But at least we can say this. The Drug Wars, Dax, Dildos, Buttholes, Lab Rat story is finally over. Hopefully. Your thoughts, views, and opinions regarding The Last Dose. As always, welcome below in the comments section.